What's up, y'all? My name's Sophie. I make videos about whatever I feel like, whenever I feel like. So welcome to my channel. Today's video is something that I have been wanting to make a video about or talk about publicly for a long time, but I've kind of held back just because it's like a iffy topic. But you know what? I'm at a point in my life when I don't really have anything to hide anymore. I want to be as open and transparent with you guys as totally possible. So that's what I'm going to do. But today we're going to talk about drugs. Yeah, in this video I'm going to talk about my experiences with acid. I have had some of the best, most profound, life-changing experiences on acid, and I've also had some of the darkest, most terrifying experiences on acid, so I feel like a lot of people can get some interesting insight for themselves and just be entertained by my stories. So here we go. So I'm going to go in order of like my trips and just kind of summarize what happened and just kind of explain to you guys how that has affected my life and how it's kind of shaped me into the person that I am today. So the first experience that I had that was like kind of profound and kind of changed the way that I look at things in the world and myself and the environment I was putting myself in. I was 17 and I was hanging out with a bunch of people that I was friends with, good friends with. Some people that I wasn't really good friends with though, that I was just kind of going along with my other friends and hanging out with who they were hanging out with. So we all decided to take acid. We did. We went to this guy's apartment and just like planned on hanging out there all night. So that's what we did. And very quickly, things started to go very, very south. A couple hours in, like I started feeling it and we were all vibing. It was fine listening to music. But then like throughout the night, random ass people just kept coming in. Like sketchy people. There were like deals going on around me, people I didn't know, and everyone's faces like started to get like melty and like peely, almost like they were like on drugs, like on really hard drugs, and that's how everyone around me looked. Even the people that I was friends with at the time like would try and talk to me and that's what they looked like, and it was really terrifying. And I was trying to just like keep my cool and like not freak out, so I was just like all night, like probably just sitting there looking crazy. I don't know, it was just horrible. And like I remember at one point, I don't know if we were talking about how someone had their phones tapped or that they thought that their phones were tapped, but the guy that we were at his house said something about how everyone's phones were tapped, and like I looked at my phone and it like started glitching and like it was crazy. Like that probably really didn't happen, but I was like sketched out that like somebody was in here listening to our conversation, or like he was like trying to trap us there and trying to like hack our phones or something. Like that's the thing about it, is that it just makes your brain, once you have a thought or something, it takes that and it makes it so much worse than it is, and it makes you think that things are happening that isn't really happening, and then you get stuck in a loop, which is like that thing repeating over and over, and you just can't get out of it. You get stuck, and that's what happened. But then after that, I think my friends started to get the vibe that I was not having a good time, needed a change of environment. So we went and we like, one of our friends that wasn't tripping drove us around, and that was just like a spaceship. Like we were literally just in a spaceship for like, I felt like 3 hours, but it was probably only like 30 minutes. And then we got back to my friend's house and thought that we were gonna just chill there all night, all together like we had planned on, but everyone decided that they wanted to go hang out with their boyfriends and they wanted to ditch our little trip night. So here I am, 17, didn't want to go home because my parents didn't know I was out here doing fucking drugs at that age, and didn't really know where else to go. So I just drove around in my car for probably like 2 hours until the sun came up, and like sketchy ass Middletown, like no, like should not have been just driving around while I'm tripping. And finally I was like, dude, the sun is up, like I need to just like go somewhere. So I knocked on my sister's door at like 6 in the morning and I was like, yo, you gonna have to let me come in. I'm gonna have to come in and figure something out. And never went to sleep the whole next day. I remember like I took my little sisters a couple hours obviously after I like came down. I was still feeling weird because I hadn't slept. I promised my mom that I would take my sisters to get their nails done for her birthday. And that was such a weird freaking experience because I felt like they knew that something was wrong with me, like the way that they were looking at me and shit. And like one of them dropped a nail polish off the rack and like nail polish went everywhere and it was all over my hands. And I just remember being like not knowing what to do, and the guy was like, you want to wash your hands? I'm like, sure. Like it was just a very, very strange like 48 hours really. And I just kind of took out of that like I was not doing what I was supposed to be doing, not hanging out with the people I was supposed to be hanging out with. Like, I just realized a lot about the situations I was putting myself in at the time, because I was putting myself in some very risky situations that did not align with who I was at all. Took a lot of scary shit to make me realize that, I guess. But yeah, that was my first really bad experience that really changed a lot in me. Then after that, I was kind of like scared. I was like, I'm never doing that shit again. Obviously, that's what everyone says. But then I started going to festivals and like experienced it there with people that I consider my best group of friends. Like, hanging out with them really made me start to open up to this whole new world of like flow arts and different types of music and all this stuff. So those were some of like the best experiences of my life. And it wasn't really any specific moments like on that happened, but it was just that time period of me doing it at festivals. You just literally feel one with like everything. Fucking trees, every person that's around you, the music that you're listening to, everything. And that I had a lot of good experiences on. That summer of like 2018 was great. Then when I went to school at OU, I also was doing it a lot. Not a lot, like I've probably only done it really like an amount of times that I can count on my fingers. So like I'm not like sitting here acting like I was like doing acid all the time, but like there's just some occasions that it was happening. When I was a freshman in college, I was really good at like handling my trips, and I was able to like do it by myself, and then I would sit in my dorm or I would go to my friend Sam's apartment, which was like the best fucking place to trip because it was trippy ass art all over the walls. Like she had lights and just like her hoops everywhere, and it was awesome. There was a balcony, like it was great. I had some very great experiences doing it there and in my dorm room. And those are some of the most life-changing, like profound experiences that I've ever had. Like there were times when I'd go over there and she'd go to bed and I'd just like hang out in her living room, still up tripping, and like hoop for a couple hours, and then like go sit on her balcony and just look out at like the town we were in. And that's kind of when I realized like, what am I doing at this school for business? Like why am I at this tiny or not tiny school, it's a huge school, but why am I in this tiny town, like in school for something that I don't care about, that I'm not passionate about, in the middle of nowhere? Like I felt like I was in a bubble. Like when I looked out of the balcony, you could like see most of the town, and it was like, I'm literally in a dome full of drunk young adults that all I want to do is drink. And that's fine, but like, it was in that moment I was doing that all the time, which is something that raises your vibration and makes you open your mind to more than just the surface of the world that we live in. And then I was in a town that was full of people that just wanted to drink every night. There were really cool people there too, and I love that town. I'm not shitting on it. But yeah, I just remember sitting out there and like in her apartment, and I could really like connect with my higher self. Like I remember an experience that I had when I like closed my eyes and I felt like I saw myself, but like a different version of myself. And it was almost like the version of myself that I'm like going to become. And like that is something I will never forget, because it was the most like visibly like I'm gonna be that. You know what I mean? Oh yeah, and then nights in my dorm, I would just like take it and just paint and like be totally fine just chilling by myself, listening to music, painting. Like I remember playlists would come on and I'd like do a random playlist, and the songs that would come on were like exactly what I needed to hear, and like just messages from the universe, and like just little stuff like that, little synchronicities. So fast forward after that, after all those good experiences that I had, Resonance 2019, I went into the festival like convinced that I wasn't gonna do acid, just because I was like, I wanna be sober this festival. Like, let's just experience it without doing it. Cool, that's fine. But I got there, and then my friends came to our camp, and what did they do? They offered me a half tab, so that's what I'm gonna take. And I took it, and it was great for like the first 2 hours. I was great, jamming to twiddle, like hooping my ass off, just literally walking around by myself, like I was fine. And then went back to camp, and my friends were like, let's go on a walk. So we went on a walk, and we like walked past the front gate, and we saw a bunch of cops, or at least like I noticed a bunch of cops at the front, and I'd be feeling energy. Like I'd be feeling that shit, sober. And when I take acid, it enhances all of your senses. So the fact that I feel energy sober, when I'm on acid, I feel everyone's energy, like all at once, everywhere around me. It's overwhelming. That's why the experiences that I had at OU when I was by myself in an apartment were some of the best experiences that I had. But when I'm at a festival with a bunch of different types of people doing a bunch of different types of shit all over the place, that's a lot. But anyway, we went on the walk and we saw the cops, and they just looked really frantic, and like they like were like almost like shutting the shit down is what like I started to feel like. Like it looked like they were like, what the fuck's going on here? Everyone's doing drugs, like what's going on here? Which that's not what was happening, but that's what my brain went to. And I think it was kind of just because like earlier in the day, me and my friends were talking about how it was the first time that resonance has happened at this campground. It's the first time a festival has happened at this campground. Like they didn't know what to expect. And it was the first night, and they see all these wooks running around, like doing balloons and shit. So like it was just in the back of my mind that like the people like running the campground and the people that are here from the town, or like the cops and shit, didn't know what to expect. And so they see all this, and my brain was like, they're shutting it down. I literally thought that they were raiding the festival. Like, I remember I just kept asking my friends, like, what's happening? What's going on? For like literally fucking 3 or 4 hours. Like I kept doing that. And I couldn't fucking explain what was going on in my brain, so nobody really knew how to help me. It was just me, this lost little puppy stuck in a loop forever. And yeah, it was bad, dude. And I remember like later in the night, I was still out of it. And it like got cold, so I wanted to change because I was in like crop top and shorts during the day, but it got cold once the sun went down. And we had our van at the time, so I was in the van like trying to find my fucking leggings that I wanted, and I couldn't find them anywhere. So I like ended up putting on like this other outfit, and I was like, I look stupid. Like I was in my head about how I looked, which who the fuck cares at a fucking festival? Who cares? Put some on. But I was just in my head. When I woke up the next day, there was literally clothes everywhere in the van, and the leggings that I wanted to wear were the only thing left in the drawer. Like, I just remember that. Like, what the fuck? But yeah, that one really made me realize my relationship with the drug, and made me realize the intensity of it, and the fact that all of that happened and I only took a half tab makes me realize that my brain might not be like everybody else's brain, and that's okay. Just because other people can take acid and go to shows and go to festivals and like it be great, I love that for them. But that made me realize that for me, no, I like to do that in a setting where I'm fully comfortable, where I have my stuff in my space, not in environment that I'm not comfortable with or around people's energy that I'm not comfortable with. Yeah, it's just not for everyone either. Like, it's something that intensifies every single sense in your brain, and some people just aren't capable of being able to control their thoughts and remind themselves, hey, I just took a drug, like just snap out of it. Because as much as I wanted to think I could handle that in the moment, I couldn't. And it's weird because I remember when I would trip alone, I'd start to go down kind of a bad path, and I could bring myself back because I wasn't overwhelmed by other people's energy. For people that have never done it, that's the most important thing for you to know, is that your set and your setting is the most important thing to have a good experience. And you want to give yourself like something to do. Like anytime I would trip there at her apartment, I'd make sure I had like a coloring book there with me, or like, because you don't really want to look at your phone. That shit is weird. You don't really want to look at your phone. But like a TV, like have YouTube on so you can watch like some trippy videos, or like turn on a good playlist. I like watching weird shit when I'm tripping. Like I watched a fucking documentary series about the 2000s one night when I was on acid, and it was the fucking coolest shit ever. I was like, whoa, this is the year I was born. This was like when I was a baby. Like, it was just, I don't know, weird shit. I guess I'm not like everyone else, because I know a lot of people that can take it and be perfectly normal, but those are my experiences with it, and I've had a lot of really, really good ones and really, really bad ones. It's not something to be like scared of either. Like if you're taking it and you go in like being scared that you're going to have a bad trip, you're going to have a bad trip. Like you have to take it and just ride the wave. Just like let it happen, because this is the only way that you're gonna have a good experience if you're not overthinking it, because overthinking is what sends you into a loop. Like my experience at Resonance, I was overthinking every single little thing, and it really, though, even though that was a really bad experience and I was super embarrassed because like I ran into people and like they saw me acting the way I was acting, and like people that can handle their shit. The next day of that festival, something really profound that happened was during Satsang, which is like a healing music, like folk singer dude. He was playing one of like the first sets of the day, and he said something. He was like, if any of you were struggling these past few nights with your mind, with overthinking, and or like something like dead on like my experience, just like about overthinking and about like being in your head, and he was like, let it go, and he was like, we're gonna breathe and we're gonna let it all go together. And it was like he was talking to my soul. And like that's the shit that happens at these festivals, like just crazy shit that like is the universe speaking to you directly, and everyone directly in their own individual ways, and it's just so magical. But yeah, that happened right after that, and it really made me like think about the way that I think, and still to this day that experience helps me not stress out about the things that I was stressing out about during it. Like stupid stuff about like what I was wearing or like what people think of me was the main thing. But like those days when I was taking it a lot by myself, not even just when I was on it, but just that time period in general really shaped me into who I am now. Because before I went there, I was I was still into the same stuff that I'm into now, or like starting to be, but like my values and like how I treated people and just like how I treated myself is so much different now after that experience, because I think I connected really strongly with love, and acid is love. But yeah, anyway, this is just a very unorganized video of me talking about my experiences on acid, good and the bad. It's really hard to explain like really what it makes you feel like, but there's plenty of good videos that can do that for you, and I'll link them in the description, because I remember watching them and being like, oh my god, this is what it is, this is what it feels like. But people that can explain it a lot better than I can. But yeah, this was just my insight on my own experiences. Hopefully it can help you be safe if you ever decide to try it, or it can help you to decide that you didn't want to try it, or just be entertained by hearing me talk about it. But anyway, if you liked this video, make sure to give me a thumbs up and subscribe for more. You can follow my Instagram if you'd like, right here, SoSpins. Check me out. Peace and love, you guys.